Subscribe to Mantold for more stories. Now, let's begin this one. My wife screamed, "Don't open the garage." But it was too late. I had already seen my daughter, hanging inside. That night, rain poured down like a storm. I had just set my coffee on the table when Emily's scream tore through the house. Her voice was shaking, desperate, like she had just seen the devil himself. "Liam, don't open it. Don't." I didn't understand what was happening, but my feet, they moved on their own, step by step, toward the garage. My hand touched the doorknob. It was ice cold. Behind me, Emily was crying, begging me not to do it. I should have listened. I should have turned away. But I didn't. I pushed that door open, and my life was never the same again. The darkness inside was heavy. The air smelled of damp concrete and metal. Rain hammered the roof above, pushing me forward. And then, right in the center, under a flickering yellow light, I saw it. A small body, hanging from the ceiling, long hair covering the face, a soaked school uniform, white shoes I knew so well, swaying in the air. I froze. My heart stopped. My mind went completely blank. It was Sophia, my little girl. "No, Liam, don't look, don't come closer." Emily's scream echoed behind me, but it felt like her voice was coming from miles away. All I could hear was the pounding of blood in my ears. My knees gave out. I grabbed the cold wall, just to keep from falling. I wanted to run to her, to hold her, to cry out, "Sophia, Daddy's here." But my legs wouldn't move. And in that moment, I knew. Some doors, once opened, bury a man's life forever. If only I had turned away. If only I had never touched that frozen doorknob. Maybe I wouldn't have had to witness the sight that destroyed everything I had. They say, family is the last fortress of a man. I used to believe that. I thought, as long as I had a home, a wife, a daughter, no matter what storms came from the outside, I'd stand strong. But now, looking back, I realized that fortress had been cracking for a long time, and I was too lost in my drawings, my projects, to hear the bricks falling. My name is Liam Carter, 40 years old, a construction engineer. My work is built on numbers, straight lines, precision. I like things clear. A wall is either strong or it isn't. You measure and you know. But family life isn't like concrete and steel. It's softer, far more fragile, and it crumbles quietly, without a sound, without a warning. Emily, my wife, was the opposite of me. She lived on feelings. She worked in art. She once made me believe the world wasn't just cement and iron, but also light, paintings, music. When we fell in love, that difference pulled us together. I was the anchor that kept her grounded. She was the wings that lifted me out of my dryness. But marriage doesn't always hold that balance. Sometimes, difference becomes distance. And Sophia, my daughter, 16, the center of my hope, the love of my life. She carried both of us in her. My order, my reason. Her mother's sparkling eyes. I remember nights in the garage. I'd work on the old pickup. She'd sit beside me, sketching the grease on my hands. Those moments, they made me believe this family was solid, like a wall that could never break. We had little rituals. Friday nights were pizza nights. I'd pick it up from the same shop. Sophia would choose the movie. Emily would bring a bottle of wine. We'd sit around the table, eat, laugh, argue over movies. To me, it wasn't just dinner. It was the invisible thread holding us together. I also had my refuge, the garage. Dusty, smelling of oil, but peaceful. Sophia and I would listen to classic rock, tapping along to the guitar. Her laughter bouncing off the walls always made me feel like a real father. But even in those perfect moments, I carried a silent fear. I grew up in a house of storms. My father was angry, violent. My mother endured in silence, until one day she left. No goodbye, no note. I swore my child would never live in a home like that. But that vow turned me into a man who tried to control everything, always worried, always holding tight, as if letting go meant losing it all. Maybe that's why I missed the small changes. Emily coming home late, blaming work, skipping dinner, her eyes no longer meeting mine. Sophia shutting herself in her room. The garage went quiet, her music replaced by the glow of her bedroom light, burning all night. I remember one Friday night, like a hollow echo. I bought the pizza, opened a bottle of Coke, picked a movie I thought we'd all like. I waited. Emily called. She was busy. Sophia texted from upstairs. Not hungry, Dad. You go ahead. So I sat alone. The pizza turning cold. The Coke fizzing out. The chair across from me, empty. The room felt so big. It made me feel small. That night, for the first time, I felt the fortress losing its bricks. But instead of facing it, I stayed quiet. I told myself, it's just a phase. Things will get better. I thought I was protecting the fragile peace we had left. But really, I was only digging the gap deeper. So I kept working, kept smiling at neighbors, kept showing up at church on Sundays. I played the role of a steady man, a successful man, a man with a happy family. But deep down, I knew. The emptiness inside me was growing. One night, I knocked on Sophia's door. I asked her to come to the garage, listen to music with me. The door cracked open, just a few inches. I saw the glow of her phone, her silhouette hiding something quickly. I'm busy, Dad. Her voice? It didn't sound like Sophia anymore. I stepped back, let the door close, and standing there, I felt like a stranger. In my own house. I thought, if I stayed patient, if I stayed silent, everything would return to the way it was. But I was wrong, because those silent cracks were only the warning signs of a collapse I will never forget. They say, every collapse begins with the smallest details, the ones we often ignore. For me, it wasn't a screaming fight. It was a night so silent, I could hardly breathe. Close to 1 a.m, I woke to the glow of a phone screen. Emily lay with her back to me. Her shoulders trembled. Her fingers moved quickly across the glass. I squinted, listening. No steady breathing, just a faint sound, a muffled sob. Emily was crying. But those tears weren't for me. I almost spoke, but the words caught in my throat. So I lay still, pretending to sleep. Questions pounded in my head. Who was she texting? Why was she crying? Why hide it from me? But instead of asking, I gripped the bedsheet, too afraid to touch the truth. The next morning, she was already in the kitchen. Makeup perfect, composed, smiling. Sleep well? She asked as she poured my coffee. I looked into her eyes, searching for any trace of last night's tears. But all I saw was a cold surface. Yeah, fine, I muttered, my voice rough. She didn't look back. Her eyes stayed on the phone. I wanted to ask, to confront her, but all I did was sigh. Silence had become my habit. That afternoon, I knocked on Sophia's door. The light from her phone lit her pale face. What are you working on? I asked. Homework, Dad, she said quickly, closing the door. But in that brief moment, I saw a message flash across the screen. Are your parents fighting again? I froze. Sophia had seen it. She knew. She was living inside the heaviness I thought I had hidden. Friday night came. Pizza night. But the table was set for one. Emily texted, busy with an exhibition. Sophia wrote, eating with friends. The pizza turned cold. The Coke lost its fizz. 2 empty chairs sat across from me. Then, footsteps. Sophia appeared on the stairs. She held a slice of pizza, already cold. She didn't sit down. She just stood at the railing, took a bite, and whispered, Dad, are you happy? I froze. She didn't wait for an answer. She turned back to her room. But that question cut into me like a knife. Another night. I came home early. The house phone rang. I reached for it. But Emily rushed down the stairs, snatched the receiver, her voice shaking. Don't call here anymore. When she saw me, she jumped, and quickly hung up. Wrong number, she said. But her lips trembled. What kind of wrong number calls her baby? I wasn't a fool, but I stayed silent. Not because I believed her, but because I feared the truth. That night, I turned in bed and saw Emily sitting at the edge, her face streaked with tears. When she noticed my eyes open, she quickly lay down, pretended to sleep, and I lay there beside her, pretending too. But deep down, I knew. Emily was living 2 lives, one with me, and another, built on a secret I couldn't reach. One afternoon, while cleaning, I found a photo slipped from her coat. Emily, laughing, standing next to a man I'd never seen. That smile. It had been years since she smiled like that with me. My hands shook as I held the picture. I wanted to confront her, to throw it in her face. But in the end, I shoved it into a drawer and locked it away. The next day, she said she was leaving on a 3-day trip. But that morning, I saw her car parked outside a cafe. Through the glass, She sat across from a man, laughing, her eyes glowing. My hands gripped the wheel. My chest tightened. I nearly opened the door, nearly stormed inside, but I didn't. Because if I did, everything would shatter. So I just sat there, watching, until they left. That evening, Emily wrapped her arms around me. She told me stories of her business trip, every detail smooth. And I smiled back, nodded. But the smile was so bitter, my lips bled. That night, I sat alone in the garage, beside the old pickup. The smell of oil thick in the air, rain pounding on the roof. I looked into the rearview mirror, and the face staring back wasn't mine anymore. Dark circles under the eyes, hair in disarray, lips pressed tight. I saw a man full of fear, cowardice, a man letting his family slip through his hands. I turned on rock music, but the guitar's scream couldn't drown the emptiness inside me. For a moment, I almost smashed the mirror, but instead, my hand only trembled, then fell away. One morning, Sophia rushed out for school, but on the kitchen table, she left a note. "Dad, don't be sad. I love you." I held that scrap of paper. My vision blurred. She was distant, but she still cared. She felt more than I realized, and that made me feel like even more of a failure. Sunday came. I asked Sophia to join me at church. She said she had a study group, but later I saw her in the park, laughing with friends. I stopped the car, watched her from a distance. She was still my little girl, still innocent, but her eyes no longer searched for me. I realized even Sophia was learning to avoid me, just like her mother. I went home, sat in the living room. The sunlight cut through the window. Across walls I thought were strong. Once, this house was my fortress. Now, it was just a hollow shell. I didn't know what I had left to hold on to. But I knew one thing. The night was coming. The night that would change my life forever. My house slowly turned into a strange stage. Each of us playing our own role, but no one following the same script. I'd come home from work, hang my coat, step into the living room. Emily sat on the couch, a book open on her lap, but her eyes lost in the distance. Sophia locked away in her room, headphones drowning out the world. And me, the man of this house, feeling like a spectator in the back row, helpless, just watching it all fall apart. Dinner stopped being dinner, only the sound of plates clattering. I tried to talk. "Sophia, what did you draw today?" She barely nodded. "Just homework." Emily stayed silent, eating like it was just to pass time. The meal ended quickly, like a ritual, with nothing left behind. One night, near midnight, I heard Emily whispering on the phone, "Don't call at this hour. I can't let Liam suspect." Her voice cut into me, like a knife. I wanted to storm in, to rip the phone from her hand, to force the truth out of her. But I froze on the stairs, my hand gripping the railing, until my knuckles turned white. For the first time in my life, I feared the answer more than the silence. Sophia began to pull away too, locked in her room, texting her friends. One day, I caught a glimpse of her screen. A message read, "I hate being home. It's too heavy there." My chest sank. I had promised to give her a safe home, a warm home, and yet, the very house I built had become the place she feared. The tension grew louder, not just in silence, but in the little things that cut me open. One morning, I found a small card slipped from Emily's bag. It read, "Your eyes keep me awake. See you Thursday night. D." A man's handwriting. Quick, messy. I folded it back, said nothing. When Emily came down, I only asked, "Need me to drive you today?" She smiled, but the smile never touched her eyes. "No, I'm fine." The truth wasn't just in what I saw. It was in what I missed. Once, the house phone rang. No one ever used it. I reached for it. But Emily rushed down, grabbed the receiver. Her voice urgent. "Don't call this number again." When she noticed me, she hung up fast. "Wrong number," she said. But no wrong number knows her name, or the hours to call. Some nights, I found her at the desk, light spilling across her face, as she sewed a button on my old shirt. Her hand steady, precise. But on the table, her phone lit up. A message. "Same time tomorrow night, D." She hesitated, turned the phone face down. The next morning, my shirt was neatly folded on the chair, a sticky note attached. "Don't work late." I read it over and over, and I wondered, was the woman who sewed for me the same woman writing to him? Sophia became part of it too. One night, she came down. I sat there, with cold pizza. She took a slice, chewed slowly, then looked at me. Dad, are you happy? I froze. The question from my 16-year-old hit me like a slap. I stuttered, but before I could answer, she left. That night, I heard her crying in her room, quiet, choked, as if she didn't want anyone to know. One evening, the tension almost broke. I walked into the living room. Emily was on her phone. The moment I came close, she flipped it over. "Who are you texting?" I asked. Her eyes cold. "Colleague." "Do you need to know every detail?" My fists clenched, words on the edge of my tongue. But then, Sophia walked in, a notebook in her hands. She froze, staring at us, as if she saw two mountains ready to collapse. I let out a sigh, stepped back, left the room, because one more word, and everything would shatter in front of her. The signs became impossible to ignore. 2 wine glasses on the table, one stained with lipstick Emily never wore, a dark strand of hair on the sofa. "Not mine. Just a colleague," she said. Smooth, flat, leaving me with nothing to hold on to. But Sophia saw it too. She looked at me, then at the glasses, and shook her head. Late one night, she handed me her phone, a chat from Uncle D. "If you really want to pursue art, I have my own studio. Your parents, they'll never understand." My blood froze. "What do you think?" I asked. Sophia bit her lip. "I don't like the way he looks at me." I pulled her into my arms, my voice breaking. "You don't owe anyone your comfort. You listen to your own heart." Then, the night came. Around 10, I heard the side door open. I stepped into the hallway. Through the glass, a shadow moved in the yard. Emily whispered, "Hurry. Come in." My heart pounded to my skull. I wanted to rush out, to confront him. But then, my phone buzzed. A text from Sophia. "Dad, I can't sleep. Are you awake?" I climbed the stairs, went to her room, held her close as she whispered, "Dad, is our family breaking?" "I'm scared too," I said, "but I'm here." When she finally fell asleep, I went back down. The side door was shut, but on the counter, a third glass. The faint scent of a man's cologne. Drops of water trailed across the floor, leading to the garage door. I stood there, my hand on the cold metal knob. Rain pounding on the roof. Emily's footsteps rushed down the stairs. Her voice broke the silence. "Liam, don't open the garage, don't." And just then, from inside, a yellow light flickered on. I took a breath, the whole house holding its breath with me. I tightened my grip, and I pushed. The garage door swung open. Yellow light spilled out, and the sight cut into me like a knife. In the corner, a man's coat hung carelessly on a chair. Beside it, a half-finished glass of red wine. My chest tightened. Every suspicion I'd carried for months ignited at once. I shouted, "Jai Sash! Show yourself! Who's in here?" Emily spun around, startled, her face pale. There was no one else in the garage, only her. But the coat? The glass? They were undeniable. I grabbed the coat, raised it to my face. The smell was foreign. "Do you need more proof, Emily?" I roared, my hand trembling. She rushed forward, snatching it back. "It's not what you think. Please, Liam, listen to me." "Listen?" My hand slammed the table. The glass shattered. Red wine spread like blood. "I've listened to your lies 100 times. The late nights, the hidden calls, the messages from D. And now, a man's coat in my house. How many more humiliations do you want our daughter to see?" Emily broke, tears spilling. She collapsed onto the chair, holding her head. "You don't understand. D isn't. It isn't what you think." "Then what is it?" I shouted, my voice raw. Her red eyes lifted. "Meeting mine. D is Daniel, my therapist." The room crumbled in my head. I froze, breath ragged. Every image I'd conjured, the betrayal, the affair, shattered. And in its place, a truth just as painful. You've been seeing a doctor for how long?" "Almost a year," she whispered. "You think I'm strong, Liam, but I've been broken for a long time. I didn't want you to see me weak. I didn't want Sophia to know. So I hid it. Hid everything. Until you created a ghost in your mind. But the truth is, I've been drowning, and I couldn't bring myself to call you for help." I sank into a chair, heart racing, tears burning, part guilt, part anger. "Then what about this coat? This glass of wine? What the hell am I supposed to think, Emily?" She sobbed, face in her hands. "The coat's Daniel's. He stopped by to drop off medication. I didn't put it away. The wine I drank alone, to help me sleep. You were never here, to see how much I was fighting. I wanted to scream again, but my throat closed. All those months of suspicion, all my quiet rage, they were nothing but the shadow of a pain I'd never seen. A sound came from the doorway. I turned. Sophia stood there, eyes red, notebook clutched in her arms, her voice trembling but sharp. If you two can't even tell the truth to each other, then how can you teach me to trust anyone? Her words cut deeper than any blade. I reached out to hold her, but she stepped back. I'm tired. I don't need more secrets. She turned, ran upstairs. The door slammed. The sound struck me like thunder in my chest. My hand reached out, grasping nothing. Just another failure, like so many before. I turned back to Emily. We both stood there, staggering, like two soldiers, after a brutal war, too weak to blame each other anymore. On the easel, my half-finished portrait still waited. The man in the painting, eyes bright, full of life. So different from me now, hollow, drained, lost. Emily stared at it and whispered, I want to find him again. The man in that painting. But the more I search, the more I lose him. I swallowed hard, collapsed into the chair. My hands covered my face. And me, I was too busy to see what you needed. I left you alone. I left our daughter to drift. I thought I was the victim. But maybe I was guilty too. Outside, rain hammered the roof. Inside the garage, only our heavy breaths remained. No more words. Only the silent witness of that portrait. Its unfinished eyes, staring straight through us. And in that moment, I knew. This wasn't the end. It was the breaking point. A crack too deep to ever be undone. And from that crack, we would either be reborn or collapse completely. I drew in a long breath. But inside was an emptiness. The emptiness shaped like the daughter, who had just slammed the door above our heads. After that night in the garage, the house felt wrapped in a thick fog. No one spoke much. But the silence wasn't peace. It was pressure, like a roar, trapped in the chest. Sophia almost vanished from the table. She ate fast, head down, then disappeared into her room. Whenever I knocked, her answer was the same. I'm tired. Flat. Cold. Emily wasn't better. She moved through the house like a shadow, passing me without a single glance. That evening, I stopped in the living room. On the table, the family drawing Sophia made it 10 years old. The three of us, holding hands in the park. It had been ripped in two. My face torn away. Emily's half smudged. Only Sophia's figure remained, still intact, but standing alone. I sank into the chair, held the torn paper in my hands. My chest burned, not from shouting, not from tears, but from the silence of that act. That was the blow. My daughter no longer believed in family. That night, I couldn't sleep. I paced the living room, mind spinning. Finally, I opened the bedroom door. Emily lay on her side, back turned, her shoulders trembling. We need to talk, I rasped. She sat up slowly, her eyes swollen, her gaze sharp. What do you want me to say, Liam? That everything is my fault? I drew a long breath. No, I know I failed too. But you have to admit, you hurt her. You hid everything. You made her believe her mother betrayed her father. She tore that drawing apart, Emily. She doesn't believe in family anymore. Emily broke down, covered her face. You think I don't see? Every day I hear her door slam. I hear her cry into her pillow. I wanted to tell you. I wanted to confess. But I was afraid. Afraid you'd despise me. Afraid my daughter would look at me with disgust. My fists clenched, my chest heavy. And this is what you chose instead? To let us rot in silence? Emily, you should have trusted me. Trusted Sophia. You said you were seeking help, but all you built was a world of lies. And you, she snapped, tears running down her face. Where were you when I stopped sleeping? When I shook in the bathroom every night? You buried yourself in your projects, your blueprints. I called your name so many times, but all I found was a closed door. You think you're the only one in pain? Liam, I've been dying inside for years. My heart pounded. The walls closed in. I stood, stormed toward the door. But as my hand touched the knob, her whisper cut through me. If you had just sat beside me, once, maybe I wouldn't have needed a doctor. I froze, the words slicing deep. I turned back. Emily was curled up, small, fragile. For the first time, I saw how cruel I had been. I walked back, sat across from her, my voice trembling. I'm sorry. I failed you. But Emily, we can't go on like this. If we do, we'll lose Sophia forever. Just then, a door creaked open. Sophia stood at the stairs, her eyes red, the torn drawing clutched in her hand, her voice hoarse but firm. I don't need you two to stay together. I just need you to be honest. Just once, tell the truth. We froze, silent. She laid the torn paper on the table, then turned, walked back upstairs. Her door closed, not with a slam, but with a soft click. And that soft sound weighed heavier than any slam before. My hand shook as I picked up the torn drawing. Sophia's face remained intact, still there, but standing alone. And in that moment, I understood. We had made her feel lonely, even while she stood between us. Emily whispered beside me, "Can we put this picture back together, Liam?" My vision blurred. I don't know, but we have to try. Not for me. Not for you. For her. She deserves a home she can believe in. The hallway light flickered above us, falling across the torn paper on the table. Neither of us spoke again. We both knew this was only the beginning of a long road ahead. That morning, sunlight slipped through the blinds, falling in slanted lines across the wooden floor. On the table, the torn pieces of the drawing still lay there, wrinkled, edges curled from damp. I sat down, picked up a jar of glue, and began piecing them back together. Emily stepped out, stood silently, watching. No words between us, only the sound of paper rustling, the soft smear of glue across broken lines. Some pieces stuck, others fell apart again. I picked them up, pressed them down, knowing all along, one gust of wind, and it could all fall to pieces again. When it was done, at least enough to stand, I hung it back on the wall. The rips were clear, jagged, crooked. It was no longer the innocent picture it once was. But maybe, in its brokenness, it felt more true. I stood there, chest tight. This family was the same. It could stand, but only barely. One gust of wind, and we'd scatter again. Sophia came down the stairs. She stopped, looked at the picture. Her eyes brushed across me. Then Emily. Then quickly turned away. She walked into the kitchen. Not a word. But in that glance, I saw something different. Not complete rejection. More like an empty space. A space waiting to be filled. And so fragile, I feared even a breath might make it vanish. That night, I wrote a note, slipped it under her door. Dad isn't good at holding things together, and I'm not good at telling the truth. But I'll learn, if you want. One day, we can fix the drawing together. Not just so it stands, but so it's even more beautiful. I'll wait. Whenever you're ready. I went back to the living room, sat beneath the picture. The weak yellow light fell across the torn lines. I looked up and saw myself in it. A man patched together, not whole, but still standing. Still with just enough courage to begin again. The next morning, I froze in the hallway. The note I'd left outside Sophia's door was gone. I didn't know if she read it or threw it away. But on the picture, there was something new. In the corner, Sophia had taken a pencil, drew a small, shaky line. A line that pulled 3 hands back together. Uneven, wavering, but connected. I stood there for a long time, my chest tight. No smile, no hug, no words of forgiveness, just a trembling line. But sometimes, a trembling line can weigh more than 1,000 words. That evening, I sat on the porch, looked up at the sky. For the first time in months, I didn't feel completely lost. I don't know what the future holds. I don't know if scars can ever truly heal. But I know this. Loss isn't meant to crush us. It's meant to remind us to live differently. Some scars never fade, but they teach us how to love more honestly. And when I heard Sophia's door close softly behind her, I realized this journey wasn't over. It was only just beginning.